Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to everyone's favorite show about plastic surgery, health, and beauty. This is Nip Talk. Today, first off, surgeons operating without malpractice insurance. Can that be true? Then, a new Florida law targets plastic surgeons and other doctors doing Brazilian butt lifts. And then finally, we got an update on our girl, Madonna, for 2024. It's all coming up right now.
Live from Lincoln Center in the heart of the Dallas Metroplex, this is Nip Talk. An honest and uncensored show about plastic surgery, health, beauty, and lifestyle with your host, plastic surgeon Dr. Bruce Hermann, and your co-host, entrepreneur and social media influencer, Sarah Bennett. Now it's time to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of the topics everyone is talking about. It's time for Nip Talk.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Please hit that like and subscribe button. I'm your host, plastic surgeon Dr. Bruce Hermann, and with me, looking very awesome in these cargo pants, which I love, is Sarah.
Hi.
You have the best outfits.
Thanks.
In the box, we got Travis. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Life's
really
good.
Good.
Busy, but good. You guys have a good 4th of July? I haven't seen you since.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It was good.
Yeah.
Anything exciting?
No, fireworks.
Fireworks,
Lots
usual
of
stuff?
food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Travis, you
About
parties?
the same. About
Yeah?
the same. I went to Red Oak and shot fireworks out there.
Oh, you shot your own fireworks?
Yeah, we do it normally like every year
Okay.
with my family, but this year I was with like a friend of mine's family.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I used to do that when I was younger. I haven't done it recently, but it's interesting you mentioned shooting off fireworks because I had a kind of an interesting 4th of July. I was actually off, which was crazy. I wasn't on call anywhere, didn't have anything planned, so we were going to a party.
Yeah.
And thankfully, as you'll soon find out, I offered to cook a bunch of stuff because I love cooking. It's just like my thing. And so we get to the party, and I started cooking, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna grab a beer. And I get in the pool, and my phone goes off, and it was actually Jeff, and he's like, can you be on Fox News in an hour?
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, oh man, I was like, I just couldn't say no. I couldn't turn that down. And so I got up, and I was like, I gotta go, everybody. I was like, I'll be back. And of course, we Ubered, because we never drive anywhere if we're gonna be drinking.
Okay, right
so I had
on.
to Uber home, change clothes, and I had to drive up to my office and set up all my stuff, and I made it with like 5 minutes to spare. And they wanted to talk about hand injuries from fireworks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's pretty
wow.
cool. And I didn't really know how, what all they were going to ask. It was just kind of last minute.
That's fun.
It went cool. I love doing those things. I mean, it's really fun to me because it's like, you don't really know what they're going to ask you, and you have to like think on your feet. And I don't know, I just enjoy it.
When you said Fox News, I assumed it was over the radio. So I was like, okay, he just do it on the phone. He can go to the car.
No, it's
you
the,
actually have to be in the office and on camera.
Yeah, so it's
Oh,
it's
wow.
the Fox News Live. It's like the streaming one. But they
yeah.
get like 100 or 200,000 viewers.
Oh, yeah,
like it's
for
pretty,
sure.
pretty good. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I knew the guy that interviewed me. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I'd seen him before. Andy Mack. I was trying to remember his name, Andy Mack. But it went really good, so it was cool. I really enjoyed it, and then I had to like go home, and I went back to the party. And
Talk about crunch time, man.
it was, man. It was like, and, I really love doing those things, but it was just such a awkward time. But thankfully, I hadn't started drinking or anything really because
Yeah.
I had been doing all that cooking.
Right.
If they had got me like an hour later, I'd be like, no, I can't do it. But
Well, most important thing is, what did you cook?
oh, so I did a bunch of things. I did some appetizers. Like I do these like stuffed jalapenos.
Oh, nice.
With like 2 types of cheese
Right
and bacon bits, and then I like to make Parmesan truffle fries. So like
That's
appetizer
very
stuff.
nice.
And then I bought a bunch of chicken legs, and I did different types of sauces, and then cooked them over the barbecue.
That's cool.
So, like,
did
nothing-
you bring that all over to somebody's
Yeah,
house?
I brought like a big cooler, and I've done that before.
I bet
We
everybody
just-
was happy to see you when you came back.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
They were like, we're hungry.
yeah. They always like when I cook. I mean, I don't cook like super fancy stuff, but I like to cook and things that I like.
That's nice.
You are a really good guest because I always just only bring like drinks. I always
Oh,
only
yeah,
bring
yeah.
soda. I'm only bringing the soda.
Yeah, I don't mind bringing. I just like take a cooler, and so I do all the prep work. I did some of the prep work the night before, and then that morning, and then I just pack my cooler, and I even bring my own utensils and stuff, and I just borrow like their oven or whatever.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. So anyway, but yeah, it was an interesting 4th of July because of that. It was nice to have a day off.
Yeah. Oh, I went on top of a roof to watch the fireworks.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, with my butt friend.
Oh yeah, how's that going? All good?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll have to bring him on. We'll interview him. Travis and I will interview him, make sure he's worthy.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
We're like
All
your
right.
brothers, you know. Like we gotta like meet the guy and approve.
He already went to my gym. I feel like that's how they treated him too.
Oh,
like
really?
my brothers.
Yeah. Oh, well, congrats. Can't wait to meet. All right, let's jump into some topics. We got some pretty crazy ones, and then we got a story of redemption at the end that I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
So first off, this first topic, sometimes I find stuff and it really kind of blows my mind, and this is one of those times.
It always blows my mind.
And this one
With
actually
these
I found
things.
while I was looking at another topic, which is our second actually segment. And so I really thought that this was a very tiny percentage of surgeons that are operating without malpractice insurance. So I thought that it would be like a tiny, tiny amount. Come to find out, that's not necessarily true. So there's a USA, throw up that article just in case anybody wants to find it, Travis. Yeah, right here. So if anyone wants to find this USA Today article, it's pretty, and it's not even brand new. Like this is from a few years back, to be honest. But it basically says that 1 in 5 Florida, these are board certified plastic surgeons, not just people who call themselves plastic surgeons, but 1 in 5 board certified plastic surgeons don't have malpractice insurance. So do you guys know what malpractice insurance is? Is that like a common thing, knowledge?
I mean, I think it sounds kind of self-explanatory, but
Yeah.
Right, yeah, basically it's insurance in case there's a lawsuit. And so the kind of important thing to know about malpractice insurance is it protects the doctor, but it does also protect the patients as we're going to
is it like super expensive? Like, why would they not get it?
Very good question. And so that is the first question I have in my card that we're going to talk about
Yeah.
is why wouldn't a doctor have malpractice insurance? And the next thing I have is cost.
Yeah.
See? That's why you're here, Sarah. Like you can read my mind.
Hey.
So cost, the cost varies quite a bit. So my malpractice insurance, I had to look it up. It's $20,000 a year. Mm-hmm. So I mean, not like dirt cheap, but also to me, in the scheme of like my budget, it's actually
Like a percentage of your surgeries that you do?
What's that?
I said, like, is that like what percentage of like your?
I mean,
like,
that $20,000 covers everything.
Yeah,
Yeah. So.
but like in the grand scheme of things.
Oh, like how much is that money for my budget? My budget's pretty big because like
Yeah.
running an office.
And then all the surgeries you do,
I
all
mean,
the
everything. Like I mean, it's a really small percentage of my.
yeah.
Of
So
my
in
costs.
the grand scheme of things,
Yeah, and
that's
this-
nothing.
And so I looked up the averages. I figured mine would be pretty low because I've been in practice a long time and like I've never had any claims, knock on wood. So in Texas, the average is $20,000 to $30,000. In Florida, it's pretty similar. It was like $20,000 to $40,000. So basically the same price. It does vary by state. In states where lawyers have more ability to sue people and doctors have less protection, it's actually higher. So the highest state in the United States for malpractice is New York State. And for plastic surgeons there, it can vary anywhere from like $50,000 to $200,000.
Do they? Why is that? Just because there's like more.
So it's
like,
much easier to
serious
sue
surgeons?
doctors
Oh.
in New York. It's actually really hard to sue doctors in Texas, like almost too hard, which is a topic for another day.
Oh.
Doctors have a lot of protection in the state of Texas. In Florida, they have a lot of protection as well. And so it's fairly cheap. And what the malpractice covers is basically if say you didn't like your Botox and you want to sue me. And so it will basically, I think everyone knows I gave you Botox, right?
Yeah.
That's not a secret. Okay. All right. So say you just hate your Botox and you're going to sue me. So you hire a lawyer, which usually they'll do it on contingency, meaning you don't necessarily pay them. They think that they're going to win the case and they want 40% or whatever.
Yeah.
So the malpractice pays for my lawyer to defend me. And if you win, like say you win $100,000 because I gave you the worst Botox ever,
Yeah.
then the malpractice will pay that.
Okay.
So not only does it protect me, it protects you as the person who had wrongdoing done to them.
Okay.
And that's very, very important for patients that a doctor has malpractice insurance for two reasons. And the first one's what I just mentioned, financial protection. I got two examples from Florida, and there's many more. These are just the first two I found. There was a patient that came from Michigan to Florida to get liposuction, got a punctured intestine, had numerous surgeries, was in the ICU for a long time, really, really sick. They actually had health insurance, which is not always the case. and their health insurance picked up like millions of dollars of medical bills, but they were still left with hundreds of thousands that they owed. And they tried to get a lawyer to sue the doctor because obviously when you stab the intestines, like that's generally considered malpractice unless there's some weird circumstance, which we've talked about in previous episodes. And no lawyer would take the case because the doctor that did the surgery didn't have malpractice. And so they knew they weren't going to get any money. And so this patient ended up having to pay these bills on their own.
That's crazy.
And then there was another guy, had the same exact thing happen, got liposuction, perforated intestines. This was a few years back. They actually found a lawyer that would take the case. The jury decided against the doctor, gave them a $1 million settlement, but the doctor just filed for bankruptcy, which is what these doctors do. And even though it was a $1 million judgment, the patient only got $15,000. That's all the money they got to pay all those bills that they had.
That's so weird.
Yeah. So the reason that doctors, can get out of pain is like they just file bankruptcy, and and then there's bankruptcy protection where they're not going to take their house, and they, or if they're crafty about their assets, like the patients can get nothing. So it is a huge deal if your surgeon does not have malpractice insurance. Like. This actually is one that I probably should have talked about in the past, but just didn't realize that it was such a big problem.
That's like it's like a little, like a hidden red flag. It's like a little slime ball-ish.
It is, and there's actually, and now is my second thing as to why it's important to know if your surgeon has malpractice, because it does reflect on the surgeon. When you look at surgeons who don't carry malpractice insurance, there's almost a 50% increased chance that they've been disciplined by medical boards. Almost 50% increase over somebody who has malpractice.
But if they've been disciplined, they can still have their, like, those certificates
you
that
can
we
be
always
disciplined. Like, say you make a mistake, like
Are
the medical,
board certified still, but still
can
have
be.
been disciplined?
Well,
Okay.
medical license and board certification are two separate things.
Yeah.
So that would be like it would be like the Texas, like say I did something wrong, the Texas Medical Board might, like cite me and discipline me, say, okay, you have to do remedial training or
But
whatever.
they didn't. Yeah, but they can't touch your license.
I mean,
But you have to do,
they
like,
can pull your
something.
license.
Oh.
I mean, it's theoretically possible. Yeah, they can definitely. We've talked about a few doctors, plastic surgeons that lost their license. Remember the one that didn't call 911
For their wife? Wasn't that the one?
Yeah, that guy. Well, he's going to trial, I think.
Yeah.
He got arrested. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's still pending. So it is a reflection on the surgeon. Also, they're much more likely to have committed criminal offenses if they don't have malpractice insurance. That's so wild.
Hey.
And I really did not think that this was a problem. And because I kind of mistakenly believe that most states make you have malpractice insurance, but that's not the case. There's actually only 7 states in the United States that require a doctor to have malpractice insurance: Colorado, Connecticut, Kansas, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and Wisconsin. And a lot of people would say, oh, well, if they don't have malpractice insurance, they can't get hospital privileges. That's true, right? You cannot get hospital privileges or even get into a surgery center if you don't have malpractice insurance. But how do they get around it?
They have in-office things.
Bam! You're so smart. I knew you were going to know it. That's exactly what happens. They don't have hospital privileges. They don't operate in a surgery center. They operate in their own ORs where there's not that regulation. And that's how they can get by with not having malpractice insurance. And apparently they don't have to disclose that. And who's going to think to ask? Have you guys ever gone to a doctor and asked if they had malpractice insurance?
No.
Charles?
No, never.
You would never think to do that.
Right.
But if something goes wrong, you're screwed because they're going to dodge it and you're going to have a ton of medical bills to pay for that you're going to have to pay for.
Yeah.
It's just wild. Like this
so
is
if you go to a surgeon or a plastic surgeon and they're like, I do all of mine in-house, blah, blah, blah. I
mean,
guess
I
that's
think
a
if
clue
you-
for them to look it up. Can you look up who has malpractice
Nope, not that I
insurance?
know of.
Like
I don't know of
public
any way to do
information?
that. I mean, and a lot of times, I was reading these stories. So that news article that was up there that Travis posted had a list of like bad outcomes from this. And there were a couple times where the doctor claimed to have malpractice insurance and they didn't.
Oh.
Which is
They're just
even,
goofing.
like that's basically, I think to me that's criminal. I mean, that person should be found criminally negligible.
False advertisement.
So, yeah, I've talked about in the past, like having in-office ORs and the potential risk for that. I have to add one more thing to that.
Yeah,
is,
add one
you
more
know,
to the
does
list.
the person have malpractice insurance? Because they don't necessarily have to have malpractice insurance to run their own office ORs. And I had never once thought about that until I saw this article, which I feel kind of silly about. But I mean, and think about if I've never thought about it, what about the average patient? There's no way they're thinking about this.
Yeah. Well, because it's like you're a good doctor, so it's like you.
I just assume everybody's doing the right thing.
Yeah. And so, but that's what other people think when they see doctor, MD, after somebody's name. They think, okay, this person is morally sound person.
Yeah.
But it's like they forget that they're also just a person.
What's even crazier is, you know, that statistic for the 1 in 5 plastic surgeons in Florida.
That is crazy.
That's board certified plastic surgeons. Think of all of the non-board certified plastic surgeons and also the doctors who are not plastic surgeons doing plastic surgery. I bet the rate of them not having malpractice insurance, it has to be through the roof, because what malpractice carrier would give, you know, these people with less qualifications, you know, a good insurance rate? It would have to be super high. I bet the rate of malpractice insurance in those people is
Are there requirements for malpractice insurance? Like different types of like license? Well, of course, have a license for that, but like, do they have to be board certified? Do they have to have like all these?
To get malpractice insurance? I don't even know the answer to that question, to be honest.
Because you didn't have to go through it. So I want, because you probably didn't have to go through it.
Yeah,
like I wonder if like when they apply to get insurance, it's like they're not getting it because they've had so many things happen to them in the past.
That does weigh into it, that if you have a lot of claims against you, your malpractice insurance goes up. It's like car insurance,
and
right?
If
you make a claim on your car insurance, it's more expensive.
Yeah, and then they can't cover them.
This was a pretty wild thing. So I want to recap this one, because this is a truly insane thing to me. So I was just talking about how 1 in 5 board certified plastic surgeons in the state of Florida do not have malpractice insurance, and this is crazy to me. And this, I would assume this also is a problem in other states. I don't have the data on that. I'm going to try and look it up. But malpractice insurance is important because not only does it protect the doctor if they're sued, it protects the patient. Because if something goes wrong and you have a bad complication and you have a bunch of medical bills due to some sort of malpractice, you won't necessarily get any money, even if a judgment is made against that physician. And a lot of lawyers won't take the case if the doctor doesn't have malpractice insurance, because they know they're not going to get paid. So it's very important that if you're going to have surgery, that you find out that your doctor has malpractice insurance. Now, if you're having surgery in a hospital or a surgery center, they require the surgeons to carry malpractice insurance. It's when people operate in their private ORs that no one's asking. So very important. If you're going to have surgery, it's good to know that your doctor has malpractice insurance.
Word.
So, crazy stuff. I honestly, like, I don't just throw around, oh, this blew my mind. Like, that blew my mind. Like, I could not imagine, like, operating without malpractice insurance. I mean, it's almost like
driving a car without insurance.
Right. It's like driving a car without insurance. And I know people do that all the time, but I guess I just think of like what bad things might happen, and I just wouldn't do it. So
wild.
All right. Now, I have to say that segment that we just did, I actually found because of this next segment. Okay. And this segment actually makes me happy. And it's very rare when I would say that more laws are a good thing. I think that there's a lot of laws out there that are kind of just too much. Okay. Yeah. So, but in this instance, I'm very happy because there is actually a new Florida law that targets surgeons that do Brazilian butt lifts. Which is wild to me that they specifically pointed to Brazilian butt lift and liposuction surgeons.
Yeah, it sounds like they keep messing stuff up over there.
Yep, you guys know exactly what I'm going to say. So we've talked about the issues with some of the plastic surgery in Florida. Yeah. I do think that the laws there are pretty loose, and unfortunately, when we talk about bad outcomes, and I always say, Sarah, where did this happen? Her answer is always Florida, and she's not always right, but she is right a lot. She is right a lot of times.
That's my standard answer now.
I do think that that is because some of the laws there are pretty loose.
Is it like, I just wonder, is it just because people are so desperate for plastic surgery there? It's like that the vibe there is.
You get a lot of people traveling to Florida. I think because the laws are loose, it lets people cut corners and the costs are cheaper. Mm-hmm. And so, because why in the world would someone?
Because out of desperation to look different, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. But, when you think about it, like, why would you fly somewhere else to get surgery if you could have it
Yeah, 'cause
for
of
the
the
same
cost.
price where you live? Like,
And pay to fly somewhere
like,
too.
that's silly. No one would do that. So I think that, there's offering cheap plastic surgery. So how do they do that? Well, cut corners because there's not as much
not have
regulation.
malpractice insurance.
Yeah, some of them don't have malpractice insurance, as we learned in the last segment. So, we've talked about Brazilian butt lifts on the show, I think, countless times. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I'm just going to say I don't like Brazilian butt lifts. I don't think they're good surgeries. The mortality rate is 1,000 times higher than the average plastic surgery. I also have concerns with like the long-term issues such as fat reabsorption and asymmetry and fat hardening. So when I saw that there was a law that targets this, I'm like, oh, okay, this might be a good thing. We're going to talk about. So the new law is HB 1561. I think I have
That sounds like a virus.
an article. Yeah, if you guys want to look this up, this is the article that I was reading just from a few days ago. It talks about law HB 1561. It was signed into law, I think, a few weeks ago, not just last week, but in the past month. And it aims to reduce the potential risks of plastic surgeons, specifically that do liposuction and Brazilian butt lifts. So it has key points here, which are actually pretty good. Like they actually got this one right. So mandatory registration. Doctors removing 1,000 cc's of fat, even if it's being re-injected into the body, must register their offices with the Florida Department of Health. That's a good thing. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a start. At least they know who's doing these things. Now, what I thought was crazy about this is the part where I said, even if injected. Because in the past, if you were removing more than 1,000 cc's of fat and throwing it away, you had to register your office. But if you were putting it back in the patient, they considered that not to be a reason to register.
Because do you have to dispose of it a certain way or something?
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to have it. There's medical hazard. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not a big thing. But what it basically did is allowed people doing BBLs to skirt past this regulation.
Yeah.
Because they were saying, well, I'm not taking 1,000 out and throwing it away. I'm putting 1,000 back in, so I don't have to register. But
Yeah.
now they basically closed that loophole. So now there's a mandatory registration for people that are doing Brazilian butt lifts because almost all, I'd say 100% of Brazilian butt lifts are going to take 1,000 cc's
So
of fat
like
or more.
the more fat you take out of somebody, like the higher risk
Oh, absolutely.
that they
Yeah.
can get
There's
hurt
a limit.
or death or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So the limit, the kind of hard limit that people always talk about is 5,000 cc's. If you take out
Dang.
more than 5,000 cc's of fat,
What
which
is
is,
what does that look like? If you
so it's 5 liters. So let's see, what's a gallon? A gallon's like 3.5 liters, I guess.
I don't know math.
So, I mean, imagine a gallon jug.
Yeah.
It's going to be more than that. Like a gallon jug plus another third, roughly.
Okay.
So it's a
So
lot.
it's like a little over a gallon of fat.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
let's see, what's a gallon? Travis, isn't a gallon like 3.5 liters?
I was an English expert, not necessarily a.
I'm pretty sure a gallon is like 3.5 or 3.6 liters. Man, if I like sit here and try to convert in my head, I'm just going to embarrass myself.
Let's go with that.
All right, so like, well, 16. So 12 ounces is 350 milliliters. So 36 ounces is a liter. So 5 liters would be 180 ounces, and a gallon's 128. So I'm actually pretty close.
Okay.
That was pretty impressive. I think I'm pretty close on those numbers. Somebody can
Hey.
check. I'm sure the internet will check me and tell me I'm wrong. But anyway, it's a lot. And,
Yeah.
and that's and so as someone who does a lot of liposuction, I don't think I've ever come close to taking out 5 liters. Like to me, a lot's like 2 liters. If I take out 2 liters, I mean to me that's a lot of fat to take out at once. Because what happens is when you start doing that much liposuction, like your risks go up. Like not only the risk of complications, but the risk of like cardiovascular issues from having such big, huge fluid shifts
Really?
and fluid changes. Yeah. So your risk dramatically goes up. So that most people say 5 liters, that's the top. How do we get off on that? Oh, we were talking about the 1,000. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anytime someone gets a BBL, they're going to take out more than 1,000 for sure, because they're going to inject it back in. If they're doing it right, they're purifying it, which means they're going to get less. So you need to pull it. It's one of my big problems with BBLs. Like in order to do BBL correctly, you have to take out a ton of fat because you got to process it, and it gives you like a third of what you pulled out. Because I did a couple of fat graftings in the past couple weeks. They're both breasts, so it's much smaller. But yeah, when you pull out, say, 500 cc's of fat, you're only gonna get back 150, 160 if you process it right. I have a system for doing it. It's like actually like a product. Like it's called Revolve. It's like a fat grafting. It pulls the fat in there, it cleans it, spins it. The
Yeah.
fat that comes out of it's beautiful though. Like it's not like chunky. It's just pure, and so it has
I
better
wouldn't know the
absorption.
difference.
It has better survivability.
Okay.
Like in the old days when we started fat grafting, we really would pull the fat out and just rinse it and throw it in a syringe and inject it. And you'd get like 20% of it that survived and 80% would go away. Well, we've gotten smarter and we know, okay, if you process the fat, you'll get a much better take. But the problem is when you process it, you get a lot less out.
Yeah.
So
that
therein
sounds right.
lies the catch-22 with Brazilian butt lifts. You need a ton of fat.
What if somebody doesn't have enough fat?
Then they end up getting over liposuction. That's another problem, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people that want a bigger butt are not heavy people. And so
Yeah.
they don't have a ton of fat, so they get over liposuction. I mean, I'm delving into like my Brazilian butt lifts.
We hate it.
soapbox.
Hates it.
I'm not a fan. Okay, moving on to this law. So mandatory registration, increased fines for non-compliance. So in the past, if you were non-compliant with the Florida Department of Health, they would charge you $5,000 per day that you were non-compliant. Now it's $5,000 per procedure. So it's more potential fine money. Liability coverage. This is the big one. This is huge. Doctors performing Brazilian butt lifts must carry liability malpractice insurance.
So what we just talked about.
What we just talked about in our last segment. This is really
Good.
big. I think this is fantastic. My only gripe about this is they said that the minimum coverage had to be $250,000. I think that's really low.
Yeah.
I think my malpractice is $1 million. I think that for Brazilian butt lifts, which carry a much higher risk of death and other complications, it should be at least $1 million. So I'm a little bummed that the liability coverage is so low.
Is that like, was that, I wonder if it was because like Florida is where most of the BBLs occur in the United States?
I think that by far and away that Florida has to be the place where the most BBLs are performed. Like every
Yeah.
time we turn around, somebody's like having problems from a BBL in Florida.
Or maybe they just have the worst crappy doctors there.
And I haven't really seen, I see a lot of plastic surgery problems because I take call at so many hospitals. Sometimes when people go to these places that are not as, I don't know, what's the right word? Not as legit. And the surgeon may not, have privileges at a hospital. So they'll say, oh, you have to go to the ER. And I don't see a ton of BBL patients here. And I just don't think many BBLs are done here. I know that there's a couple guys in my town that are doing them, but I don't think they're doing a lot.
Yeah.
Just here and there. All right. Also, very important. We just talked about the fact that doctors have to have malpractice insurance. Now, surgery centers or facilities that do BBLs likewise have to carry insurance, which blows my mind that they didn't.
On top of a doctor, the surgeon.
Yes. So on
Okay.
top of the doctor, the surgery facility has to cover liability insurance.
Nice.
So I think that these laws are great. I mean, it's a step in the right direction. There's a couple where I think it could have gone even further to protect patients, but at least it's a step in the right direction. And I think that you have to take a step back and say, why are lawmakers focusing on one particular surgery?
Because it's dangerous.
Because it's dangerous. We've been saying this forever, that this is the one standout surgery that has more problems. And I think people are finally starting to notice.
And it got so popular from
social media.
celebrities
Yeah.
wanting bigger butts and
Yeah.
stuff.
The Kardashian effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Kardashian effect
And
totally
even
drove
they're
this.
getting their, or
Yeah, they're kind of
apparently.
reversing it, right?
Apparently, but
Yeah.
they still look like they've got some stuff going on down
Yeah.
there.
So I think this is huge. I think it's kind of like people are starting to take note that this is a little bit more dangerous because we're having to make specific laws for it. They're not making laws for, run-of-the-mill plastic surgeries that have been popular forever, which, they probably should. I mean, everyone should have malpractice insurance. I mean, the part where it says, people with BBLs, I mean, it should be everyone that's doing surgery. Everyone should have malpractice insurance.
For sure.
It would eliminate a lot of, risks and stuff to patients. So.
And it
All
would
right.
eliminate a lot of doctor,
Like people that shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll
No, totally,
literally
yeah.
eliminate doctors that are
Yeah, and I
bad.
did a little digging into the history of this, and they actually loosened a lot of the laws several decades ago. I mean, many decades ago, because there weren't enough doctors.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so they loosened the laws, but what it did is it allowed kind of like an overcorrection where then things that were bad were happening.
Yeah, some slime
crazy.
balls to come out.
Yep. All right, I want to recap this one real quick because I think this is a pretty huge new law that just came out in Florida. Florida just made new laws specifically targeting doctors and surgeons who are doing Brazilian butt lifts. So why did they do that? Well, people started to notice that there were a lot of deaths and complications coming from these patients getting Brazilian butt lifts. So what did they do? They started making people register if they were doing Brazilian butt lifts. So they have to let the Department of Health for Florida know that they're actually doing them. They also increased the fines if they're not compliant with the rules, and then they mandated that both the doctor and the facility have to carry malpractice liability insurance. I think these are great things. I think in part they didn't go far enough, like there's not enough malpractice coverage as like a minimum, but this is definitely a step in the right direction. And I think it makes people take a step back and wonder, why are they having to make laws against one particular surgery? And the answer is clear, because people are having problems with this. So I'm very excited to see that something we've been talking about a lot is starting to get a little traction that, hey, this might be a problem and we need to protect patients. Because at the end of the day, it's all about protecting patients and make sure that they don't have a bad complication or even a death. So
Good.
crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So a couple of downer segments talking about sad things. We're going to talk about good things. This is a story of redemption for our girl, Madonna. We're going to do a Madonna plastic surgery 2024 update.
Let's
and
do
I'm
it.
super stoked about it. Now, you guys know I'm a huge Madonna fan. I love her. Grew up listening to her, very, popular when I was young. But we've had to do a few segments about her because she keeps popping up on social media in the news because of her look. So I want to recap just some real quick videos of some previous videos or segments that we did about Madonna. So if you didn't catch the Madonna segments in the past, I'm going to give you a little brief one. So roll that first video. This is from December 2022. It's pretty crazy. So we're doing a nip tuck 911, and it's on my girl Madonna.
Looking cute.
She's been hitting on social media a lot
That's
lately.
a Halloween costume.
I know it's no, I don't think
No.
it made me wonder. No, I don't think
I thought she was pretending to be like Wednesday or something.
Felt cute. Might delete later.
Yeah.
It was one of those.
Hashtag.
So she's been popping up on social media a lot. It's like Madonna suddenly found TikTok, right?
Yes.
She hasn't been on it, but but in the last few months, she's been like popping out a lot of stuff on like Instagram.
Yeah, she's been making some really cringy stuff.
I'm
you
not
you're,
gonna
like, looking
I'm
at
not
it,
gonna
you're like-
confirm or deny that statement, but she has been posting a lot of stuff, interesting stuff for sure. And most recently, like in the past week, like she's been popping up about her looks. And I saw an article pop up. This was in the very credible Sun journal, which I say that a little bit facetiously. And so that was the first segment we did about Madonna, which was pretty funny. We had like a good time talking about her. Of course, we're not making fun of Madonna, like we're just trying to make light of these news articles. But we were talking about how suddenly she came out on social media and she looked so different, like no one recognized her.
Yeah.
And it was just on social media at the time. Like that was right after like it happened. So there wasn't a whole
Do we
lot.
get to see what she looks like now?
Yeah. we're
Okay,
gonna get
cool.
there. Yeah, I told you you're gonna like this segment. I told Sarah before the show started.
I hope
was like,
she's
you're gonna
gotten
like
some
this segment.
things dissolved.
Maybe so. All right, so
Oh, gosh.
that was December 2022. So a couple months later, the Grammys roll around, and Madonna rolls out at the Grammys. And I think a lot of people had not seen her on social media yet, but when she came out at the Grammys, people lost their minds. Roll this is from February 2023. Had to have seen all this crazy stuff about Madonna, right? I mean, she like broke the internet, like, and what's the wildest thing about all of this, hubbub of Madonna and how she looked, is we were talking about this a few months ago, right? This came up, and I think that it came up then because everyone on social media saw it, and now when she was at the Grammys, it's like the whole world saw it. The people that don't get on social media. So as you guys probably know, Madonna was presenting at the Grammys. And she was looking like she does now, after those surgeries. And man, her social media just exploded with people talking about that she looks, and I'm not saying this, but people were saying that she looks scary, she looks unrecognizable, that she's like addicted to plastic surgery. I mean, they were saying some pretty harsh
Yeah.
things about her. And, Madonna's pretty defiant about the whole thing. She came out this week and she said, the world refuses to celebrate women past the age of 45, which, I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but she was just kind of like, clapping back a little bit. And then she said that she, got caught up in the glare of ageism and misogyny that permeates the world. And so she's been, pretty like critical of the people criticizing her. And I think that's fine. And so, she's being talked about on all these talk shows. In fact, I've done 3 little media interviews in the past couple days about it. And the thing that I'm seeing out there, and this is important. Like, I'm about to get on my soapbox here.
Yeah.
All right? I'm about to seriously get on my soapbox because, people are criticizing her and they're saying, why did she do this? And I just think that is really not the right question that we should be asking, okay? Madonna is an icon, right? She was this, musical goddess of the 80s, and she has this almost unobtainable image that she has to uphold. And of course, as she gets older, she's going to want to try to keep as much of that as she can. And so, I have no problem with Madonna wanting to stay youthful. I'm a plastic surgeon. That's like my career, right? Is helping people stay youthful. So, why did she do it? Well, it's obvious. But specifically as far as why did she make herself look like that? I guarantee you that she did not go to some doctor with a picture of what she looks like right now and said, make me look like this.
No.
So the question that we should be asking is not why did she do this? It's who did this to her.
Yeah.
Who took Madonna, the most iconic musician of the 80s and 90s, or one of them, and made her look like that?
Yeah.
It's not acceptable. Oh man, we were kind of laughing about, both of us had really dark hair in that episode.
Yeah.
Our hair colors changed. But you look the same, though.
I don't think I'm in any of these, but it's always weird to look back at yourself and be like, that's what I looked like. That's interesting.
I had my cool jacket on and had the dark hair. It's it looked like a different person.
Sarah had the hair down.
Yeah. So of course, in that episode we were talking about the Grammys and, everyone had lost their mind about Madonna, and we speculated about the surgery she's had. She definitely had a facelift and she'd had a lot of filler, which was, I think, the one thing that was really making her look so different.
Yeah.
Just too much filler.
Yes.
And then we talked about her again in the summer. This was less about her looks, but it was just a crazy segment about her when she had to be revived with Narcan. That's wild. Roll down.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, I know, right? I hate to say it, but I think we have to touch base about Madonna again because there's been some new news come out that is pretty shocking, and people are just now starting to really talk about it. So for those who didn't see last week's segment, Madonna was intubated when she was found unresponsive in her house or apartment and had to spend some days in the ICU. And thankfully, she recovered very quickly. And all that was said about her, her stay was that she had a bacterial infection. And so last week we were trying to, figure out what exactly would have happened to her because it's kind of a weird story. Most of the time, if you have a bacterial infection that is severe enough to make you unresponsive and need to be intubated, you're really, really, really sick, and you normally would spend a lot of time in the hospital.
Didn't she say sepsis last time?
We were just guessing.
That might have been what happened. Yeah.
Well, we were just speculating, right? Because, it was just weird that she, was sick enough to be intubated, which means you're put on a breathing machine and be in the ICU. But then she was, back to normal in a few days. And so we were all like, well, we'll have to see if anything else comes out. So I guess it was yesterday or the day before, things started hitting the news. And I just clipped Sarah, can you throw up? Yeah, there's some clips. And so what's being reported in multiple news outlets is that Madonna had to be given Narcan to bring her back to life. And I was like, what? That's a completely...
What is that drug that they stab into your chest?
That'd be epinephrine. So Narcan, you're on the right track though. So Narcan is basically the reversal for opioids. So when people
the thing we talked about with the police officer.
And we're going to talk about that in the next little segment. But yeah, I like Sarah's fairy wings. Those are cute.
That's a cool shit.
So yeah, that was kind of a sad segment. Poor Madonna had something happen. We don't know if she had I never did hear I think that was kept pretty hush hush. Did you guys ever hear about what that whole scenario was about?
No, didn't hear too much afterwards. Nah.
There was not much out there, but if you have to have big of a Narcan. Now sometimes they'll give Narcan just on a hunch.
Just to see if it works.
Yeah, to see if it works. Yeah, because it's a harmless drug, so just why not give it to her?
Yeah.
So we had 3 sad stories about Madonna. And I hate to hear them because I love Madonna. I'm like, the material boy here.
Yeah, so she's our material girl.
And so today is a day of redemption, people. This is a big one because
see
there's
it.
new articles have come out that are now talking about how good she looks. Throw up that article. Madonna 64 looks younger than her years in new photos she shares behind the scenes look at rehearsals for upcoming tour. When I saw this, I was like, let's see him. All right, so let's roll her pics. Let's see what she's.
Oh, thank God.
She looks like herself.
Yeah.
She does. I mean, that looks like Madonna to me. Like
She does look good.
Like her cheeks have come down. I mean, her lips, I think.
Her
are still,
forehead doesn't look like this, like, huge. Her
I
forehead
think that was
looks.
just a bad photo.
Because of her,
angle.
because that's why I was like, this has to be a Halloween costume. Because she looked like Wednesday, the way she was standing there.
Maybe she was. I don't know. Was that back when that Wednesday show had just come out? Maybe. Maybe she was. I don't know.
Yeah, I swear. And then I guess her cheeks look better. Like
She looks way better.
They don't look like they're just like
enormously huge.
like an alien.
Yeah, they look pretty scary. Like she looks like Madonna
Wow.
there.
She looks great.
She looks really good. I mean, she does. I think she looks great.
Yep.
Lots of makeup there, but
She kind of looks like Miley Cyrus right there.
a little bit, she does. And then that one, she looks fantastic.
Yeah, she looks like
She looks like Madonna. I mean, you can tell she's a little bit older, but I mean, she is older. She's 64. But I think she looks very good. She doesn't look artificial as much. I mean, I look at her and I'm like, yeah, obviously she's had work done.
she's material girl.
She's the material girl. She looks great.
She's supposed to look
Yeah, she's supposed to look
well
like that.
kept.
So I think she looks great. I think that what happened to her, she just got a little bit too much filler going on, mixed with maybe some, hairstyles that weren't as flattering, maybe some bad pictures, and so
Or just like people, or maybe she was like depressed and she was surrounded by people that were like, yeah, go get this done. It'll make you feel
knows?
better.
Well, I also
like
go
that.
back to that one thing that I said was like, it's not all her fault. I mean,
Yeah.
someone did that to her.
Somebody on her team.
Yeah, somebody did that to her. Well,
Was like-
the person on their team
Yeah.
or the person that actually did the injections.
Yeah.
Somebody needed to tap the brakes.
Yeah.
So
She might have been, I can only imagine what like celebrities go through,
Oh, it must be
especially
horrible.
somebody that's like older and she's like, oh, I used to look like that.
Yeah.
Like, when she sees new pop stars coming up and
Totally.
she's just like,
yeah, totally.
how can I compete with this?
I mean, it's hard to
Kinda thing.
feel sorry for celebrities as average
Yeah.
people, but I totally get that 100% that there's this just enormous pressure to maintain a certain look.
Yeah. Well, I like watching the Kardashians, and
Yeah.
one of the latest episodes was Kylie Jenner actually like crying because she is just so.
She's like turning 30 or something.
No, she's not in her 30s at all.
Oh, is she? I don't even know.
I think she's still like late 20s, but she was crying because of how many people are constantly ridiculing her about the way she looks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's sad.
Started
I mean, it
crying
is
about
sad
it.
because that no matter who you are, that gets to you after a while.
Yeah, she was just, it was interesting because she was like, I've taken, like people said I had too much lip filler, so I got some of it dissolved, and now it's like, she was pretty much like, I can never be enough.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that's so sad.
It is sad.
Yeah, like the constant
People are
pressure
mean.
to look a certain way.
Yeah. You just gotta stay off social media.
Yeah.
Well, even
that's
then, it's
their
like
life,
it's even
though.
this like the news. The news articles run.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's
always something,
I do
I'm
feel
sure.
bad for them. Then of course, well, they have like millions and millions of dollars to make it feel
Yeah.
better.
Dry your tears with your money.
Yeah, with $100 bills.
For real.
But I really am. I'm happy to do a Madonna redemption segment.
Yeah,
I
that
feel
makes
good
me
for her.
happy.
I want her to like soar now.
Yeah.
In her golden
Are you gonna go
years.
see her in concert if she's on tour?
I would go see her. I've never seen her. I would go see her.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'll have to look and see when she's coming through town. That would be
Mm-hmm.
cool. So, all right.
Real quick, Dr. Herman, we had one comment from Dorian Herman. He said, I text you a very graphic picture of a foot that was involved in a firework accident one of my EMT friends sent to me. So
I'll have to look for it.
yeah, you may have to check that out, I think.
Yeah,
You're getting a picture of a foot.
I'll have to check it out. I probably just got. I
And
get
not
so many,
the good kind.
I
from
feel bad. I probably got lost in the deluge of texts that I get every day, but I would
Facts.
definitely check it out. So. All right, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment if you want us to talk about something specific on the next episode of Nip Talk. Sarah.
Bye. Oh, bye.